What's up, fancy hairdressers? Goldwell brand ambassador Jacob Kahn here. We're live from Nashville. We've got the final stop on the Goldwell tour, Goldwell KMS tour, and we decided to give you guys something a little extra special. This is a local musician, local music artist named Jordan, and she's been nice enough to let me cut her hair today. We're gonna do something that is a little fringy, long layer, but adding a little definition. She was blonde before, so you can literally see, if we were to pull this out, where her tone is starting to fade off. Maybe you can see it, I can't tell with the light in this hallway, but we're getting a little bit lighter browns there, and then we've got some real soft ends, but with not a lot of definition. And texture and softness can be really cool, but we want it to be texture and softness with a purpose. So essentially what we're gonna do is use what's there, define it, and give her a new shape that's a little bit fringier that will feel better as this hair goes up. I don't know if this is from previous haircuts, or if this possibly is some breakage from when she was maybe some kind of platinum under there before. So, starting off, we're gonna start off in the fringe. I generally like to start where we're getting a big change, right? Where we're gonna see the most difference, or in the shortest area of the cut. And for her, I mean, we're gonna be working on long hair and layering it, but the fringe is really where she's gonna see a difference in her look. So we're gonna start here. We'll bring camera around, we'll start on that side. That works perfectly fine. On this side. So, there's a few things that we talk about when we're thinking about a fringe, right? In class, people always say like, oh, place your comb right here, let it rock back and forth like that, and find where the head changes shape. But really, that's the thought. Where does the head change shape? It's not about the comb, and because you can hold it anywhere. I can have it rock right there, I can hold it here, and I can have it rock back there. But if you just look at the shape of their head, where will it start to slope down? And then when you pull this down, where will you start to get a separation? You see how that splits naturally on its own? And of course, she already has some long fringe there, so it helps us out, but it's the same as combing hair back and pushing it forward, looking for somebody's natural part. So that's what we're gonna do. We're just combing that down and seeing where that hair naturally wants to separate. We're doing this on dry hair, and we're gonna use a stroking technique. You guys follow me, you know that I love a stroke with a scissor. It's a great way to get a look that seems like you cut it with a razor, but you actually cut it with a scissor. So as we work through this, if you have questions, comment the questions in there, and we'll do our best to answer them. If I don't know the answers, I will pretend to know the answers. So we're going to subdivide through this. Think about the direction you want to take. I want the fringe to go this way, so I'm going to take diagonal sections in the direction that I want the fringe to go. I'm going to pull this to the opposite side. We're using over direction here. And again, we're going to use our scissor in a soft way. So I'm going to come here in front of my fingers, and I'm going to come down, and I'm going to close as I come down. Maybe we can get even some close-up shots on that so they can really see what's going on. So it creates these soft, short to long sections, very much like a razor would do. But your clients are able to see their end result right away. They know what their haircut looks like before they even get into their extensive color work that we're always doing in the salon. It builds confidence in your clients, and it also allows you to color to the shape of your haircut. And if you want soft results, I don't want a result. So using a scissor in this way is going to give you a great razored effect on dry hair while keeping the hair nice and healthy. I'm actually letting the guide fall out because I'm going to work in front of my fingers, so we have to pull past the guide. The guide falls out, I know I'm in the right place. I'm closing on the way down. So I'm here, close on the way down, just like that. So you're cutting these soft little C shapes, little short to long sections into that fringe. The over direction is going to give us more length to her left. So we get that kind of like flowy fringe that's going to be shorter from the center, longer in the corners. So I'm pulling out, there's my guide starting to fall away. I'm going to come over my fingers here, and we're going to cut short to long like that. And I often call this instant gratification haircutting, right? Because watch what happens when we take this piece and we comb it back, and I bring it to the side, and we push it forward, right away we've got this beautiful, perfect little face framing fringe. It hugs the cheekbone really nicely. She gets these nice little soft pieces that will fall out of a ponytail when her hair goes up. And I always think it's really cool to have a look when your hair is up and when your hair is down. So let's switch sides. I'm going to come over here now because we're going to use over direction again. What is over direction? Over direction is just pulling hair in the opposite direction that you want it to go, and it's going to get longer in the opposite direction that you pull it. So if I pull hair this way, it's going to get longer that way. Simple thought. We're going to get a reference point here. I want to see, where does that fringe start? How much do I need to take off? Just a visual reference on the opposite side. You could also use a visual reference here, like I was thinking cheekbone for starting place on the other side. I'll do the same thing on this side. So we have this sort of elevation coming in, and we're cutting short to long, short to long. Perfect little soft sections. Yes, we have a question.
Yes, what shear are you using?
I'm using the 5.5 Fancy. So this is my own brand of scissors, of course, Fancy Scissors. Everything's in rose gold because I'm just obsessed. If it's rose gold, I'll buy it. And when I'm doing a stroke like this, I like to use a smaller scissor because you have a lot of like movement, right? You're not just working in your fingers. So because you're moving this way, you need to make sure that you're using a small scissor so you can be more accurate and you're not endangering your client or endangering yourself, because you're actually, a lot more hand movement than you would when you're working, with a scissor generally. So we have just one little piece here. There it is, and we'll come back and cut that. Again, we just have a stationary guide. That means everything's coming to the same place. We're going to use our first section as a guide for every other section that we take. So we're over directing. My guide falls out, and then I'm going to cut in the same place that I cut all my previous sections, kind of turning my hand as I go to make room for my scissors to work. And again, you can stop wherever you want. You could do 2 sections, 1 section if you just want to have a little bit that will fall out of a ponytail, or you can work with the natural movement of the hair. You could do the entire thing if you wanted. That's just going to give you a much more layered feeling. If you want to connect your layers to the fringe, that's a great way to do that. We'll let the guides fall off. And we're coming in, short to long cuts. Very simple stuff, simple techniques with very impactful results. That's the idea. We want to not have to work very hard to get big results. So again, I'll pull that back, and right away, again, we get this beautiful face framing fringe, and we can show her in those moments, like, what will her hair look like when she puts her hair up, right? It's always like this big aha moment, I feel like, for clients in the salon. They see their hair up, and they're like, ooh, wow, it's really nice. It looks like, the celebrity hair looks like. And that's the goal. We want all of our clients to feel like they're a celebrity, even though she most likely will be very famous very soon. If you hear her music, you guys have to check her out.
So T-A-R-O-T.
Oh yeah, like tarot cards sings. So you got to check her out. She just came out with a new music video. I watched it yesterday. Super cool. Corner of this fringe to start layering down here through the side. There's already a bit of layer there, so we don't need it to go a lot deeper. I don't want to lose this front corner right here, because at front, to feel like she has all of her length is the moment she's going to feel like it's a little over-layered. A mullet is cool, right? Mullets are cool. We know that there's always been a lot of people with mullets in Georgia, even when they weren't popular. But it's not just a certain type anymore. Everybody can wear a mullet now. But a mullet's only cool if you want a mullet. If you didn't want a mullet and you get one, not very cool. So we're going to bring this forward. Again, we're going to pick up a bit of the fringe as a guide. So there's my guide. Right there. I'm not going to pull all the way over here because, again, I'm not going to be able to cut enough. I need some of this to come off. And if I pull away from it, it's going to leave more of it. So I have to stay on this side. I'm going to come down, let the fringe fall away, and then we're going to come over the top of my fingers and, again, cut short to long, sliding my fingers a little bit as I go, taking some of these dead ends off, but still leaving a very soft edge on the layer as I cut. Once I start to lose tension, I'm going to drop my section, I'm going to recomb, reorganize, and then continue. You don't need to be a hero, you don't have to cut the whole thing in the first time you pick it up. If you start to drop that hair and you feel like you don't have control over it, then regather your section, reorganize that hair. I'm going to take a peek and just see what it looks like through the camera. Very nice. Okay, that's actually not bad lighting.
Okay, let's go.
I was nervous about the lighting in these hallways.
I know, you never get good lighting.
All right, so we're going to continue now with a stationary guide, maybe 1 or 2 more sections, whatever would naturally sit here in front of the shoulder. So taking vertical diagonal back sections here. Closer to vertical than horizontal, but they are a diagonal section. So we have 3 different angles of section that we take when we're cutting hair. And each one does something a little bit different for us, right? If we take a vertical section, things generally sit a little bit leaner. It creates kind of this linear shape, like up and down feeling. If we take a horizontal section, things will get heavier. It creates blunt lines. And if we take a diagonal section, it's going to sort of push the weight in the direction of the diagonal section that we take. So I don't want this to push too steep as far as to get very short in the front and then dramatically longer in the back. So that's why I'm sticking to a vertical diagonal back section rather than a steeper diagonal back. So that's going to keep more length at the bottom, but still give me a slight movement back away from the face. you can see now we've connected that through. We're getting more definition. And in the end, we might just come in and worry about our perimeter later. So we'll do this side now.
Would you recommend this on curly hair, this technique?
Absolutely. I love to do a stroke on curly hair. On our website, we have a lot of great step-by-steps using a stroke cut on curly shapes. You can also follow one of my former proteges and now like super badass hairdresser in the salon, Chelsea. She is like sort of a curl specialist, I would say, and she uses that technique a lot. So from this side, we're going to change our hand position a little bit because we need to cut from the top to the bottom, right? I need to cut shorter to longer. So I can't cut this way because I'm going to be cutting long to short. I mean, you could do that, but it's going to be more difficult to do. So essentially, we're going to stand behind our section now, come to the back. I'm going to bring this forward. There's my guide from the fringe. I'm going to let my guide fall away, and I'm actually going to work here. And again, I'm going to cut short to long, short to long, short to long, almost just bouncing your scissor down along the section as you go. So you're just taking off those little bits of hair. Being very mindful of the bottom corner there, because I want to keep the corner. Just thinking about what naturally sits in front of the shoulder. You can see we have maybe more weight on this side and a little bit less on that side from our breakage possibly. So when we come back to do the perimeter, we'll balance that out. But for now, we're thinking about the internal shape. So pushing this forward, stationary guide still, not very high elevation. There's my guides falling away. I'll come over my fingers this way, and we're going to cut short to long like that. Balance your scissors as you slide. If you start to lose tension, we're going to regather that hair, reorganize ourselves a bit. If you've already cut it, let it fall out, and then we're just working down, 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 until we get to this corner, taking off some of these like little skinny pieces. At the very bottom, because it's only a few, I'm actually just going to freehand connect those in. It's not very much to take off there. All right, so now what we're going to do, we have our shape starting to get a little bit more balance, a little more definition in the front. Make sure that you are aware of what's going on with the hair. Like, I don't love it when I see people in the salon and there's just hair in their client's eyes the whole time, and they're just, talking to their assistant or on their phone or whatever. So I'm always trying to think about them being as comfortable as they could possibly be. And also, when you're doing a dry cut like this, you're presenting their look to them right away. They see what their hair looks like. They don't have to wait for it to be blown dry to see it. So you want to think about that are they going to think about their bangs in the front, in front of their eyes? Or if I bring it to the side and I finger style it into place, they're going to have that much more confidence because they know, oh, I love the way that looks. It was so easy. You didn't even have to style it. You just cut it and it worked, right? So I'm going to have you turn to your right. We're going to start working our layer here through the back. So we've taken these sections. We're just going to separate out from about the apex. When I say the apex, all I mean is the highest point of the head. So again, we talked about where does the head bend here. The head changes shape there. So we're thinking, what's the very flat, the top of the head, the highest point of the head? That's a great place to gather a guide for a layer like this because it's going to give you a good idea of where that layer is going to sit everywhere. Sometimes when I was layering in the salon previously, I would take my section a little too far back and I would love the length. I would be like, I'm feeling really good about this length. Then when I got to the front, I was like, my goodness, that's a lot coming off. And you know what I would do? I would just disconnect it and just slide. But the reason that was happening is I think I was starting this layer a little bit too far back, starting it in the crown rather than from the apex here at the top. So we're going to take our guide here from the apex, thinking about the natural fall of her hair. She's got a little cowlick here. So I'm going to anticipate that that will split every once in a while, unless she's flat wrapping her hair out perfectly every day, which I really doubt is going to happen. So I'm going to work with the natural movement of the hair, anticipating that there might be a little split. We're going to start with a vertical section here. I want to maintain length at the bottom, but I want to add movement through the interior. So if I come out and I cut something like this, I'm going to take a lot of that weight out from the bottom. So we have a saying, we say you pull away from what you want to stay. Whatever hair you want to stay there, you got to pull away from it. That's why if we want, what's going on over there? If we want an A-line bob, a bob that's longer in the front, we're going to pull back, right? If we want something that has length in the back, we're going to pull forward. I want to maintain length and weight at the perimeter, so I need to lift up. We're going to pull away from that length. So literally just, fingers are right behind the comb. Let's get up close on this, on the scissor. So we're going to come up. I'm thinking about adding some strength into this. So I'm really looking at where does it start to get a little too skinny. Then I'm going to rest my scissor on my fingers, and we're going to use our fingers as a platform for that still blade so we can start to create a short to long feeling. And you can see where it starts to get heavier. Right at the bottom there, we've got a little bit more weight. I'm gonna match my angle, and again, I'm gonna work that short to long. Now, you might see that my wrist is bent. If you're the kind of person that's like, oh my gosh, his wrist is bent, I hate that so much, you have the option of flattening your wrist out as well. But we still wanna use our fingers as a platform for the scissors. So I'm gonna open again, I'm gonna flatten my wrist out, rest my blade, and then use my fingers as a platform to connect that through. I'm gonna keep on picking that section up until I run out of hair that will reach the guide that I've set. So once I pick this next one up, you'll see something. We come up, perimeter falls out. You see that? The perimeter fell away. Because the perimeter falls away, we know that we do not have a hole here in the perimeter. If you're cutting a layer and you notice that you're picking up the entire perimeter and a lot of that perimeter comes off when it connects to the layer, anticipate that you broke the perimeter line. And that can be cool. Sometimes I'll just let my layers dictate the length if you want a very soft perimeter. But a lot of the time you might have already established your length and you don't want to break that. You don't want to put a hole in that length. So when you're determining your angles and your length, you need to make sure that your perimeter length is actually going to fall out of what you're cutting. So I've already cut that. We're going to let it drop away. I'm just going to have a small amount of it so I can go. Continuing to pick this hair up. We can see that right here, our perimeter length starts to drop out. This doesn't work. Cool. And we're gonna pivot these sections through a little bit so that we get a balance, right? So every section that I take, because we're gonna use a traveling guide now, I have to travel with the guide. So if I stand in the same place, I'm gonna start over directing. It'll start pulling too far and I'll start to get too long. If I wanna balance, I need to walk through. So with each section, we're both gonna take a little step. We're gonna rotate this way, and then our camera will rotate a little bit that way too. Oh, not you. Oh. You look straight ahead. Pivoting our sections all from the same starting point. So we have the same guide, and we're just gonna work that all the way through. So come up, there's our guide, very clearly defined there. So you need to make sure that your length, or I'm sorry, your guide density is enough that you can see what you're doing. If it's too big of sections, you're not going to see your guide. And we have a little saying, I say, when in doubt, you just chicken out. If you don't see the guide, don't do anything. Someone else I work with has a joke saying, they say, if you don't see your guide, you just close your eyes and let it ride. Don't do that. If you do that, you're going to have all sorts of problems. And before, when I was like starting off, I would think to myself, this just feels right. Like I feel like I'm in the right place with this. But it's much easier if you know that you're in the right place. All these little systems and sayings and rhymes and stuff, you know, I sound like a kindergarten teacher, I know. But these are things that help me remember the fundamentals of haircutting and make me a better haircutter to like have these little things in my mind. And eventually it'll become very second nature to you. You won't have to say, when in doubt, cut it out. If you see your guide, you know, close your eyes and let it ride. But in the beginning, I think those are good things. So we got our guide here from these front layers. So if we are balanced here, when we get to this front bit, we shouldn't have anything to cut. Perfect. So, great. Now we're gonna do the same thing on the opposite side. Because I want this to go from shorter to longer, I'm working in an angle like this. I'm gonna stand on the same side and just start to pivot my body this way as I go. You could reverse your body position if you want, but it's much easier to cut from short to long than it is to cut from longer lengths down to shorter lengths. So my advice would be to stay on the same side and work from your shortest length out to your longest length. But you have to anticipate now. You're standing on the opposite side, you might start to pull this hair this way as you go. But your guides are from the opposite side there. So you have to make sure that you're pushing towards your guide so that you maintain the right over direction with each section that you take. So just have those thoughts in your head. We want to push, look for your guides, and we're connecting. I'm trying to not cut past my second knuckle very much. Come up, there's our guide there. The reason that I don't want to cut past the second knuckle is because I don't have very good tension past my second knuckle. In school we hear about that and we say, oh, don't cut past your second knuckle because you might cut your finger. No, that's true. You might cut your finger. But the real tension, here I cannot hold on to anything. So I can really grab this, I can't grab right there. So some people might have better tension than others past their second knuckle, and you know, there are no absolutes. You can do whatever you want, as long as it looks great when you're done. But in a general way, I'd say you're gonna have less tension past your second knuckle, and you want to try your best to only cut to there, recomb, so you can see your guides nice and clearly. And we're still working out short to long, and we'll see, does our perimeter length start to fall out? There the perimeter goes, that's great. And we'll connect all that in, getting all those little drier ends off there. But you know, because of the angles that we cut, we automatically get very soft results, right? Because we're using a high elevation, we're cutting short to long, we get a really soft blend of this layer without a lot of point cutting, especially because she has, you know, a lot of weight taken out of her hair already. Again, ignore that there is a little bit of color right there. Another great thing that you can do is, like I said, color to the shape of your haircut. You could have started off evening this out, toning that out, but you would have used more color, maybe spent more time. So now I know, after cutting, I can get into my color, and I've gotten rid of everything that I don't need to worry about toning down. All right, so here's our last section. Because we've got a guide from right here, if I'm correct, and my over direction is consistent, then I shouldn't have much hair to cut in this section. Now, when someone has some chemical breakage and stuff like that, you might find that you have a couple random little hairs that you have to do, because it's not, you know, all even when you started. So we have like one right there. Knock that out, blend that through. All right, cool. So we're getting a really nice layered shape in there now. And what I'm going to do is split this down the center. I'm going to bring it to the front. Let's have you turn back, facing straight ahead. And I just want to check these front corners a little bit. See if we're balanced, because again, there was a little bit of breakage in the perimeter, so looking pretty nice and balanced here. But then we'll just dial that in just a teeny bit more. Cool. Concaves, and I've got a special treat for you. Someone that I get a lot of inspiration from all the time on how to do a style on a layer like this. Miss Sonobrato is here. Hey!
Hey!
Check it out.
So glad to be here, Jacob. I can't believe I get to style one of your cuts.
Oh, please.
My phone dream. My phone dream. Well, as I was looking at it's Rebecca, right?
Jordan.
Jordan. Oh, who was Rebecca?
She's gone.
Jordan.
We fired
Okay,
Rebecca.
we fired Rebecca. Jordan's
She's out of here.
Yeah.
As I was looking at her facial structure, I thought I'm going to grab my crimping iron.
Ooh, fun.
Because I love creating fullness in certain areas based on face shape for styling.
Love it.
And so when I was looking at Jordan's facial structure, I want to place some fullness above her beautiful cheekbones. And so I'm going to mini crimp, actually this area right at the parietal ridge, keep it off of the top just to get a little expansion.
Love it.
And then just be inspired kind of by a 70s type of vibe and kick the hair back away from the face.
We'll take it away. I can't wait to watch.
Okay, well I'm going to plug this baby in. I think I can get rid of the flat iron. We've got too many irons here. So, mini crimper is something that I've been using a lot in styling. And I've had clients actually purchasing them because they really give a lot of great fullness. I'm going to start by spraying a 2-in-1 into the hair. Now the 2-in-1 is great because it has this polymer in it that you can flat iron the hair, then you can go back in and you can curl the hair and you don't have to actually respray. So I know that Jake has already flat ironed his hair. I don't know what was used on it because I wasn't watching it. So I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of nothing.
We use a low heat, so.
Low heat, yes. And that's really important because she does have a little bit of chemical texture in there right now, which, you know, works pretty well.
Very diplomatic, yeah.
Yeah, very diplomatic, I am. Okay. So let's see. I always smell the iron to see if it's hot. Do you do that as well?
I don't, but I love that.
Yeah, I always do that. But with a mask on, sometimes it's hard. In the salon, I'm like, is it hot? Is it hot? But you can smell how hot it is. So,
I just close it on my hand, and if I burn, then that's
you
how
know,
I know.
that works too. Okay, I'm going to start with my crimping, and I'm going right above the flat of the head. So typically when I'm looking at someone and I'm trying to decide where do I want to place fullness in a style, whether it's cutting or I'm doing a finish style. I take a comb, place it directly on the side of the head, and you can see that above the cheekbone area, the comb breaks away a little bit more than it does at the bottom. That's a good way to know where you want to place fullness in the hair.
Ooh.
So on like a classic oval face, it would break evenly above and below. Someone who has a little bit more of a stronger jawline, it breaks a little bit more above. So you actually get kind of a read on what you want to do as far as the style. So,
Sona, are you going to be, are you teaching at the show tomorrow as well?
yes,
Someone wants
I
to
am
know?
teaching, and I am actually doing styling. I'm not cutting tomorrow. So I believe are you cutting on stage, Jacob?
I am. I'm doing a short segment, and then
Okay.
we have Rob and Shannon doing the full cutting segment.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's going to be so fun. But I'm actually doing styling. So I'm doing a very 40s retro-inspired style
Love it.
tomorrow. So I'm coming in with my crimper, Vera's crimper, right at the scalp. And for small sections, I'm going to take about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch section, spray a little bit. And Jordan, if I could have you just hold that for me, and put you to work here. Come in. And I do this on myself if I want to get more fullness, just real quick and easy. And I find it to be a really effective way for clients to be able to get fullness in their hair.
And you veil over it with the top,
Yep.
or awesome?
Yep. And just veil over it with the top. Right through. You don't have to get all the hair, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Literally, you're just putting a crimp in. So this will be my last one. You're getting good, Jordan. I like it. Teamwork we're having. So that little trick with the comb helps when you're trying to decide what you want to do with the haircut as well. So you can see there, we have just that little bit of fullness built in right above the cheekbone area, whereas this side is going to lay flatter. So I'm going to come in and just do the same thing on the opposite side. Just going in right above where the hair, where the head rounds. So right above the parietal ridge. Okay, continuing. I think that styling is one of the most important things that we do as hairdressers, because you can make a great haircut look really, really bad with a bad styling, or you can make a bad haircut look fantastic. And actually teaching clients how to style their hair and how to get a really good finish on their hair is so important. So last section here. And then you could do this in the crown area as well. And the hair kind of almost feels like it's back combed when you do it. Little mini crimp. And there we have it. That's all I'm going to use the crimper for. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the iron in a little bit different way. I'm not going to actually clamp the hair. I'm just going to use it to bend and move the hair. Now Jordan said that her hair doesn't hold curl really well. And so I didn't want to do something that just wasn't even going to last for her. So I'm going to go along the edge, and all the hair that Jacob cut to move back away from the face and kind of give that 70s type of vibe, I'm just going to continue on with that same feeling. Here, I'll give that back to you, Jordan. Now, do you guys have any questions about styling? I guess that one needs to be on too. Anything that you run into on a regular basis? I'm going to turn you just a little bit. One thing that I run into, I wasn't going to do crimping in the back, but you can see, if you want to come over here, you can see where her hair splits, and her hair splits pretty far down in the back area. So I'm going to mini crimp across that, but kind of miss this top part, because I don't want to necessarily see the crimping, but I do want to get rid of that split right there. So this would be great for you to do at home, Jordan, when you...
I didn't know crimping was an idea.
Yeah.
That's a really smart
Well,
idea.
when we think of crimping, a lot of times we think of 1980s crimping.
Yeah.
And I did hair in the 80s, and boy, we did crimping. It was fun. But we don't do the same way anymore.
What kind of crimper are you using?
This is the Vera's crimper. So take a look at that right there. Perfect. And you can see it's just a really small mini crimp. And you can dial in the temperature as well. Her hair is actually really healthy at the root area. So it's turned up right around 350. Okay. So then if you want to come in and show this real quick, even just doing that little bit right across that crown area. So you could do it up here too if you wanted to, but I want it to remain a little bit smoother on top. But you can see how that camouflages that area. And if you do want to go in and do a little bit of back combing, watch this. It just gives such a great base for it, just very easy. And on hair like hers, it's very glassy at the roots. So that will give us just a really nice cushion for our style. And Jordan's like, I am getting one of those.
I'm literally like,
Yeah.
all right, taking notes.
Okay, Jake, look, I got rid of her little split in the back. with
Oh, I
the
love it.
crimper. Yeah.
The volume is there, noticeable as well. So
Volume
easy.
is there. Yeah, really easy too. And a little tangled in there. Okay, so when I'm working with this, with the iron, what I'm going to do is turn just a little bit more for me, Jordan. There we go, so I can show on this side. I'm going to come in, and where the hair naturally splits, that's where I'm going to work with my curls and my movement, because this piece of hair is going to naturally stick together. So just coming in, I want to tip this. I don't know if any of you did any type of feathering when you were in high school, junior high, but my hair would never feather because I had the strongest cowlick. It was so annoying. Very Charlie's Angels-esque. Okay, there's another split right there.
And that's exactly how we found her fringe sectioning in the first place. Was
Oh, is it?
pushing it
There you
up
go.
and looking
Yeah.
for natural splits.
Well, we're on the same wavelength. Either you're watching my stuff or I'm watching yours.
Hey, I'm watching yours.
How would you control frizz on top of the head?
Frizz on top of the head, you can always come across with your iron. Works really nicely. I use sometimes a makeup brush, so I'll spray a makeup brush and just come across the top that way, and that tends to work really nicely. So as you can see, I'm really not trying to curl the hair. I just want to bend it away from the face. Looks like our next one. Here, can I have that spray again? There we go. Too many things in my hands. Well, here, Jake. I have a new assistant. It's interesting, when you've worked with an assistant for so long.
Yeah.
You start going, I
you
don't know.
start
I
going,
don't know.
I know, what do I do? What do I do? And just bending that back. And this is really easy to do on yourself too. You just have to make sure you hold it for long enough, get down to the ends. And it's very different than rolling the hair into the iron. All we're doing is just giving a kick back. Okay, so let's go ahead and straighten out. Come to the other side. There we go. Perfect. Oh, okay. If you insist, you probably need that comb. Not using it right now. Okay, coming in again, finding those little splits, working that hair back. You could do this with a flat wave with a flat iron. This is going to give just a real gentle and gradual.
Yeah, it feels like modern take on that 70s look, like an undone 70s
Right.
piece.
Yeah, because 70s we had, it was like rolled. It was just so. Just. Yep. Okay, so we've got that fringe area, just coming in, really bending. So I'm coming down, the elevation on the hair is low, and then the ends are kicking out. So we're really trying to get the ends moving without getting a lot of lift at the root. So you could probably go all the way around. Do you want to spray that, Jake? Beautiful. So it's interesting because Jake and I share some clients. I'm up in the Spokane area, and you're in
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
So
Okay.
across the entire country we share clients.
Yeah, yeah. I'll send people to him. He sends people to me.
You see Jensen's violet that we did?
What was it?
She's wearing like complete vivids now.
Is she really?
Oh, she's like a berry tone,
Jensen.
like a metallic berry.
Jensen. Okay, so just really kind of moving this through. I just want to see what we've got here. Here, hold that for me. Because I don't want her to look necessarily 70s. I want it to be inspired by 70s.
Oh, I love it. It shows the texture and the cut so nicely.
Yeah, and I like leaving this, I need to do one more over here. I like leaving the rest of it just kind of straight. Here, protect, there we go. Awesome. Because to me, that's what makes it kind of fresh, is not going through and doing beachy waves all over her hair.
Always, yeah.
But really going in and changing just the ends and the kick of the hair.
And we've been saying that lately, that an all-over beachy wave used to seem very undone.
Yes.
And now it seems
Now
pretty
it's-
done up.
Now
because
it's like
we know.
completely done. Yeah. So one thing that's great with the 2-in-1 is you can use this for your finishing spray as well. But what I'd love to have you do, Jordan, is just stand up for me and then turn and face. There we go. I always stand people up so I can see the rest, you know, the style and how they're living in it. And so I'm going to have you kind of cover your eyes like this and tip your chin down. Let's go down a little bit more. There we go. Get your hair hanging free. Beautiful. And then just kind of kicking those ends out.
This could work great for editorial work as well.
Yeah. Whoops, sorry about that. Jordan didn't know she was going to have to work. Okay. Alrighty, let's take a look. Okay, go ahead and
I love it. How did you make my haircut look so good?
well, you know, like I said earlier, you can make a bad haircut look really good with a great style. Or a great haircut look really bad with bad style. So
I love
it's
it.
a great haircut. Okay, have a seat. There we go. So all I did was just take the iron, work the hair back away from the face with a little bit of the 2-in-1, which is great for curl, makes the curl last a lot longer. And also went in with the mini crimper right at the root area, so I got a little bit of expansion without backcombing.